Happy Thursday morning, everybody. Welcome into another day of Morning Jocks. Here with you, Conrad Van Order, and Damian Mitchell makes his return after a couple of days off. So appreciate John Saber stepping in the next couple of days. But good to have you back, Damian. See you're in one piece and
Yeah.
get everybody ready for the weekend.
I had enjoyed a couple days off. My girlfriend came back from deployment, and you can't say it enough. Just thank you to all our armed forces, the servicemen and women that we have in the military, and it's kind of one of those things. When she left, it was a lot harder. It was brutal. It was brutal, man. Just tears in my eyes. And then when she came back a couple days ago, it was just more relief. Like it was joyous. Not to say that tears weren't shed, but it was more of a wow. Like you don't realize how much time just flies by, and just kind of experiencing all that with the families that were there, and just seeing the kids, and like mommy, daddy, like you're back home, and just it's a different experience. Like, it really is. And again, like I said, you just, thank you. I can't say thank you enough for, not just her service, but all our servicemen and women. And it's just such a transition it is coming back home. I ain't gonna lie, I put on a few pounds since the last time she done seen me. And, it's one of those things that we kind of laugh and joke about. And, just kind of, the things that she was in Baghdad, so like the things that she experienced and some of the things that she's seen, and the first thing she wants to do is just go grab barbecue and things like that, of just like Americanized food, and the little things of just like she hadn't seen a cloud in Lord knows how long. Like she soaks it all in. And it kind of just puts a lot of things in perspective. But yet she was still dialed in on football. Like, I mean, I kind of kept her up on a lot of things, but yeah. She's like, it's third Saturday in October this weekend. And I was like, oh, okay. So like, we ready to talk about it? Like, you want to talk it up? And she's trying to figure out, what's going on with Auburn. Like, she's an Alabama fan, but she's just like, so how crazy is it down there? I was like, oh, let me enlighten you. Like things have changed in the past couple weeks, and it's just, it's been fun. It's been fun. I'm glad that everybody here is in one piece. I hadn't, there was nothing really breaking besides, the Mari Austin situation and things like that. But overall, man, just happy to be back into the saddle, back into the swing of things, and hopefully you've had a peaceful couple days.
No, it's been it's been good conversation, but it's good to have you back, and I'm glad that your girlfriend's back and here safely with you, and I know that's something that you've been waiting a long time for. So it's good to see that y'all get to be back together, and I, like you said, I echo all of your sentiments about all current, past, future, anybody that has made that ultimate sacrifice and made the decision to go and protect this country. We can never thank you for everything that you have done for us, but we certainly do appreciate that, and especially right here on the show. So good to have everybody back in house as we have a big weekend of college football coming up tomorrow. On Saturday. But I guess it technically got started on Tuesday, right? So because we're in the middle of 49 days of straight football, so it never really ends right now. But we do have some football. As I mentioned, you had football last night, and one of those big winners last night was our very own Jacksonville State as they took down Delaware and the Fighting Joe Flacco's 38-25 last night. So how about Cam Cook? He has 117 yards on 18 carries, 3 touchdowns on the ground for the Gamecocks last night to help lead them over to a win over Delaware. And it really wasn't even as close as the final score indicated, because Delaware, they kind of scored 2 touchdowns late, kind of in garbage time after JSU was up pretty handsomely. But JSU, they started off up 21-0. And then Delaware started to show a little bit of life, but game never really in doubt there for Jacksonville State once they got rolling there. So JSU, they're now 4-3 on the season, and they are undefeated in Conference USA play as they now sit at 3-0. So a big win there last night at home for JSU. Sure, some of you were over there to take that one in. You also had another game last night, not quite as entertaining, as you had UTEP taking on a Sam Houston State team. So going in, these two teams combined were 1-11. 1-11. So yeah, I'm going to be honest. I did not watch this game, but I can tell you that UTEP won 35-17.
There we go.
So that's good for them. Not good for Sam Houston, who is now 0-7 on the season and 0-4 in Conference USA. So don't think that you're going to be finding them. Well, they're not going to a bowl game because they've already lost 7 games, but don't think you're going to find them in.
You don't think they can backdoor their way in?
No, I don't think you're going to find them in a Conference USA title game or anything like that either. So, but yeah, so those were the 2 games that you had going on last night. Tonight, of course, you've got Tulsa and East Carolina as they're going to do battle tonight. That will be a 6:30 kickoff there on ESPN, Tulsa at East Carolina. And then, of course, you're going to have your Thursday night football on Amazon Prime as we have an AFC North battle as Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers will take on, as I just mentioned with Delaware, Joe Flacco and the Cincinnati Bengals. So that will be a horrible game to watch because if you've tried to watch any game involving the Bengals since Joe Burrow's toe exploded or whatever happens when you have turf toe, they're probably the hardest team to watch in the NFL. Well, them and the Jets and the Titans.
The Titans aren't
and
difficult to watch. Who says that? Who has that?
Huh. I mean, it hasn't been that.
No, we're struggling, but we're competitive for the most part.
1-5.
Listen, it's not about the wins and losses. It's how you feel.
Oh, it's not about the wins and losses?
No, we're bad.
That's
man.
interesting.
We're terrible. We're terrible. It's but we have a rookie quarterback who's just, we got to put some pieces around him.
You only won because somebody dropped a football.
All I know is we have a win on our record. We have a win on the record. We have a win
on the road.
Yeah, exactly. It's tough to win on the road in the NFL. You know this. You've seen enough ball. You watched enough tape. No, nobody says, "Oh, how did they get?" Nobody asks how did they get that one win. It's, hey, we got to win. That's all that matters. We're struggling.
Yeah,
we are.
It's okay. It'll get better.
It can't get any worse.
Correct. So it will get better. Hopefully sooner rather than later. So that was the football that you had going on last night, but you also had another event that I'm sure some of you were at here in Birmingham. Is Ballin and Boutwell. So we've got more action coming up tonight as you're going to have Alabama and Florida State. So the men's team's going to have their preseason game at 7 tonight. Women's teams are playing at lunchtime at 12. But last night you had Auburn in action, and this was really the first chance we got to see, right, of Auburn under Stephen Pearl. Now that we know Bruce Pearl has stepped away as head coach there of the basketball program. So I'm sure a lot of people very excited to get out there and get to take that in last night. And again, I know they had a live stream that was going on and was able to catch some of that. I know they were having some issues with it at times as well. So I know some people probably frustrated by that, but based on the little bit that I got to see and reading all the reports from people that were there covering the game, I mean, it was a fantastic game. It went to overtime. Unfortunately, Auburn did fall 97-95 to Oklahoma State. But the good news, right, is you had Keyshawn Hall, that transfer that came over from UCF. He had 26 points last night to lead the way for the Auburn Tigers. So nice to see him kind of get out there and get going. From what I understand, Tahad Pettiford not having the kind of night that you would expect for him, as he did have 17 points, but only shot 4 of 16 from the field, had some issues, I know, at the free throw line in overtime that could have potentially, helped extend that game for Auburn and things of that nature. But hey, that's why you play these games, right? And that's why you want to go and play a legitimate opponent like an Oklahoma State, right? Because you're going to have a lot to learn and take away from that. And we heard that from Stephen Pearl last night after the matchup there. So hope y'all had fun. If y'all did go, 205-834-9450. Hit us up on the courtesy GMC text line. Would love to hear about the experience. And sure, some more of you going to get out there tonight to take in Alabama and Florida State as well. So that's been a really cool event that we've had here the last couple of years now. And good to see it continue and look like there was a solid crowd last night there for Auburn basketball. But it's still football season. We're getting close to basketball, but it is still football season. And last night was Wednesday night, which of course means that's when you get your availability reports for the upcoming weekend, at least the first availability reports. And the big one for Alabama, we found this out yesterday on the SEC teleconference where Kalen DeBoer kind of made this known. But Jam Miller is listed as questionable for the third Saturday in October this weekend. Of course, he had the concussion last week against Mizzou. Derek Meadows has already been ruled out, so he is He also got concussed in that game. He is not going to go this weekend. And so he's added to the people that you're used to seeing now for Alabama: Quay Rusall, Jamarian Latham, Caden Jones, Jeremiah Beeman, Derek Meadows, all of them out for Saturday's game. Jalen Mbakwe, he's been working himself back from that hand injury that we know he sustained in practice last week. He's questionable, and then also Jam Miller. So really the only big news there is Derek Meadows out, Jam Miller questionable, but seems like a little bit more info from Kalen DeBoer on Hey Coach last night that he's moving along nicely. So we'll see if he's able to go on Saturday. But obviously, that would be massive for Alabama if he is able to play, and it would be certainly wouldn't hurt Tennessee to see him have to stay on the sideline. So that's what's going on with Alabama now for Auburn, as they are going to take on Missouri this weekend. So Missouri, they're just down at offensive lineman and Logan Reichert there for Missouri, but otherwise looking pretty healthy for the Tigers. As far as Auburn goes, you have Horatio Fields and Darrell Robinson still out, obviously. Then linebacker Bryce Diaz, he is listed as doubtful for the game on Saturday. So keep an eye on that. And then questionable, you have Champ Anthony, so that's certainly not somebody that you want to be without. And then tight end Brandon Frazier, also questionable. So two important pieces there for the Tigers that they hope will be ready to suit up on Saturday. And I forgot to mention this with going back to, Alabama and Tennessee very quickly. There had been some belief that Jermod McCoy was going to try to come back for this game, but he was officially ruled out yesterday as well. And that, I guess you could look at it as well. Wouldn't you want a guy out there that's maybe knocking some rust off if you're Alabama? I'm going to say no because he's their best cornerback. So that certainly would bode well for Ty Simpson in the offense that he's going to be out as well. So nothing crazy on the injury front for Alabama or Auburn, but I guess the main takeaways there: Brendan Frazier and Champ Anthony questionable for Auburn, and then Jam Miller trying to work his way back from that concussion. Does that change how you feel about any of these games? Any?
Nah.
What about Jam Miller? If he doesn't go for Alabama, do you think that's a big detriment for them or no?
It's because we missed him out. We missed out on him early on in the season.
I was about to say you're used to it.
You're used to him. Yeah, you're kind of used to him not being out there. But by week 6, week 7, we know what Riley can do. We know what we know what the run game can look like. But we know how impactful he is when he does play because all he's done since he's been out there, run for 80, run for over 100 yards. So we know his impact. But I still think the run game, it can still be effective. Hell, we even got Caden Proctor out here toting that thing. So they find a way to still get it done, even though Jam Miller may or may not be out there on Saturdays.
So 20 carries for Proctor?
I wouldn't say 20, but I'd look at the over-under about a 1.5.
I mean, I'm just saying 3 games in a row. So you're on a streak now, right? People are expecting it. So I think now I almost wonder, right, if you're Ryan Grubb, like, is it a challenge now of
how can we do it?
How can we implement him in a new way each and every week? So I'm excited to see if they have something up their sleeves for the Vols. I'm sure that they do. But if you missed the show yesterday, we spent some time. We kind of took a look back on the first half of the season, and I shared some of my takeaways from both Alabama and Auburn now that we are 6 games through the season. I know it's weird that we're halfway done, but we are. And so we took a look back yesterday. So now let's take a look ahead. What's coming up on Saturday? Let's finally break down these matchups for you. We'll start off with Auburn. They're welcoming Missouri down here to the Plains. Is it a must-win game for Hugh Freeze? We'll tell you the keys to victory for Auburn, their first SEC win, coming up next here on JOX. Well, welcome back into Morning Jocks here on your Thursday morning. Conrad and Damian here with you until 7 o'clock, when we will hand you off to McElroy and Kublik in the morning. But as always, appreciate you making us a part of your morning each and every day, right here on Jocks, your home for college football and more. So let's start looking at these matchups coming up on Saturday, Damian. Of course, we'll give you our picks tomorrow, as we do each and every week. We'll make our official picks for Alabama, Auburn, and more. But right now, let's really just dive into these games, how we see them matching up, and what we think Auburn and Alabama need to do to be victorious this weekend. So let's start with Auburn. They're welcoming the Missouri Tigers. Very interesting that you get Missouri and Alabama last week. Now we get to see Missouri and Auburn this week. So the good news is we're already pretty familiar with Drinkwitz and his Tigers and what they're going to want to do in this matchup. So I think first and foremost, my question going into this game, if I'm Auburn, is offensively, what did we do right in the first half of the Georgia game, and how do you implement those things again with the, I guess, the added note of this has to work for more than one half of the game? Because we heard Hugh Freeze this week, and I mean, we played the audio for you on Tuesday of, you know, him coming out and saying, hey, we're calling the same things in the second half that we did in the first half. We're getting the same looks from the defense, but in the first half, we get a 12-yard gain, and in the second half, we're running the same play against the same look, and it's a 3-yard loss. So what's going on here? And so, right, some of that is going to be on execution, but it also doesn't take away from the play calling. And, hey, maybe, okay, if that's not working for you, maybe call something that you didn't call in the first half, if that's going to be the case. But again, I think we all agree it's getting that consistency offensively for 60 minutes. Because, again, the offense that you saw in the first half of the Georgia game, you can win with that. You could probably win a lot of games with that. But can you get that for a full 60 minutes? Can we see a full football game from Auburn? If we get that, I think they're going to win this game. I really, really do believe that. But it's a question of, can we get that? Because we haven't really seen that at any point this year. So why would we expect it now against a Missouri team that's coming in with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder after they just lost to Alabama? I do think the one good thing for Auburn in this matchup, well, first off, Ahmad Hardy showed that he was a little human. Now, granted, part of that goes to Missouri because I think they went away from the run game a little too early in that game against Alabama.
Completely abandoned.
But if you're Alabama, you'll take that. So now if you're Auburn, right, are they going to right those wrongs? Or can you force them early on to again go, man, this kind of looks like last week. I don't think this is going to work. All right, let's see what we can do with Bo now. And in that way, here's my thing with Bo Pribula. I did not think he was great against Alabama. I don't think that's a hot take. Now, showed some wiggle with his legs, did some nice things that way, and did make some plays when necessary, right? He took advantage of the fumble after halftime, was able to drive down quickly at the end of the game and make it interesting with that touchdown. So he did some things nicely, but overall, you could tell he was a little uncomfortable. That was in front of his home fans. You are now coming to Jordan-Hare Stadium, which I don't care what the quality of the football team that runs out of the tunnel for Auburn is going to be. It's one of the toughest places to play in the entire country. So if you played like that against Alabama last week, and we know that this Auburn defense can put more pressure on you than Alabama's defense can, and you're having to go into a what's probably going to be a very fired up Jordan-Hare Stadium, I think it's fair to say, is he going to be even worse than he was last week against Alabama? Now, maybe he won't, right? Maybe this week was big for him and he fixed a lot of things. But I think if you're Auburn right now, you got to look at that as a serious opportunity where, again, your defense is going to be able to keep you in this game. It's 1, just, can you muster 24 points of offense?
Yep. I got a similar keys to victory for Auburn offensively is how about you bail your defense out sometimes?
Yeah.
That's all you got to do because the issue we keep for the past 3-4 weeks, we've been having the same discussion. Auburn's defense is playing at a level that you should be able to win ball games if you can find a way to score 21 points. 21. Just find 3 touchdowns. You can score a touchdown a quarter and actually have one that you didn't. And your defense has played to this level that they have kept you in ball games consistently. How about you bail them out just one time, one drive?
If they averaged what you just said, so that'd be 28 points a game, they'd be undefeated.
Amen. It's insane. And I don't know what it's going to take because you have too much talent offensively for the production to be what it is. And you can look great against Baylor. Baylor's defense is terrible. You look great against Ball State. And going back watching the South Alabama game, I should have known like there were leaks somewhere, because I thought it was okay, they're playing down to the level of their opponent. They're just kind of going through the motions. Well, now since we've opened up SEC play, it's this offense can't get out of its own way. And I don't know whether it's the play calling, because again, you look at that first half against Georgia, that team, if that team right there plays the first half like they play the rest of the season, they're beating everybody.
Mm-hmm.
They're beating everybody because you can't stop them, because the defense is choking you out, and offensively you're not stopping them. They can mix it up. They can hit you over the top. They can play the screen game extremely well with the talent that they have. They can actually run the football. Emphasis on running the football and actually sticking to it. Auburn has to get out of its own way offensively. And again, bail your defense out, because your defense is absolutely playing their rear ends off at every single level.
So let me ask you about that in particular. And again, I'm not saying this is what I think is going to happen this week, because I think the defense is going to look pretty sharp. How much of a concern do you have? And maybe this is a thing just as the season goes along, right? At what point, when the defense is playing at such a high level, and you're frustrated that the offense can't score points, right? Like, I mean, I get it. Your teammates, you want to keep, but you're getting frustrated at this point. At what point? What's the breaking point for that? Do you think, is that something that you should be worried about if you're an Auburn fan? Of, okay, eventually does this defense just go, dude, we've done everything we can. Obviously, the offense can't help us. So essentially, screw it, whatever. Like, I'm done. I can't. And again, not saying that they don't want to be out there anymore, but do you have a letdown game at some point if you're this defense, because eventually you can't do it anymore?
You're starting to see it. It's almost a fatigue thing. We're back. The defense is back on the field again. Like, we just stopped Georgia. We held them to a field goal, y'all. We got it. We're doing this. And at some point, when you have the 13-play drives, the 15-play drives, it's like, oh my God, like, what's going on? And then you flip it around, the offense goes 3 and out. We can't keep doing this. Like, we are doing everything. This Auburn team is good enough that they've gotten to the point where it's not even a bend but don't break. Like, they haven't bent. Like, they haven't broken. We are doing everything we possibly can. We need our offense to help us out. Can you sustain a drive? The first drive of the game against Georgia, where they took off like 4 or 5 minutes. It's okay, if Georgia can't stop this, we got to keep this thing rolling. Defense is playing absolutely lights out. And you can't let that one play at the end of the first half just completely derail. And I going back to the press conference that Hugh Freeze had Monday, which, again, even a couple days later, I'm just like, wow, they're
highly entertaining.
Oh, 1,000%. You can't have the talent that you have and have the culture of we're finding ways to lose. We're finding ways to not win football games. Mm-hmm. Because to me, it sounds like you had the first half scripted out and you let the external factors play into what this team is going to be. Like, the second half,
I feel like it's
shocked.
all mental.
Yeah, it's like, what do you mean you're shocked that you didn't come out with better juice or better, like, erase what happened in the first half. Any coach will tell you, like, hey, it's tied 0-0 from this point forward. Like, first half, it's done. Like, whatever adjustments we need to make, we got to make. Let's go out there and do it. And to hear Kirby Smart, who's the mad scientist of defense, to hear him say, yo, they ran stuff we had not even prepared for. It's like, what? You can design all of this, but then in the second half, you didn't have a counter to the counter? Like, it's a boxing
it makes
match.
it more frustrating because it shows you it's in there.
Exactly. It's there.
It's just half there.
Yeah. Like, okay, so
you need
what
more.
Are we going to do in the second half? And again, like, your defense cannot continue to keep playing at this level and having the offense just wasted. Like, at some point, Hugh has got – I don't know his coaching philosophy. I don't know how his coaching style is. But he has to have somebody, whether it's a strength and conditioning coach, but he has to have some coach or somebody or some personnel to really, like, you got to MF these guys at some point of, like, offense, I don't know what we need to do or how we need to do it. We got to get this done because it's us. Like, it's our fault. Because and I go back and I start thinking, okay, why does he Why does he shy away, or why does he go away from the run game? The run game is not sexy. It's tough when you're watching your offense get 3 yards here, 2 yards here. But Jeremiah Cobb is a home run waiting to happen. All he needs is a little crease, and all of a sudden that 3-yard gain turns to an 8-yard gain, turns into a 12-yard gain. You have to be patient in it. And I think him as a play caller, because he's been such an offensive-minded coach, it's like, man, we brought you here for this side of the ball, and this is our Achilles heel. That's what puzzles me so much. It's how are you looked at as an offensive coach, but your defense is literally keeping you in ball games, game in and game out, and the offense still can't find its way out of a paper sack. To hear that Kentucky is a better passing offense than Auburn is insane to me. Absolutely insane. And they benched Zach Calzada. Now, he may be hurt, but it ain't like Boley's any better. But you're telling me Jackson Arnold, 5-star, coming from Oklahoma, you're surrounded by all these pieces, and you still can't find a way to get it done? Nah, dog. That's a you problem. That is an offense problem.
Yeah, I think that was an eye opener for people this week of realizing that, all right, we're halfway through a year and
it's bad. It's terrible with all those pieces, all those weapons. If you gave Kentucky those weapons that they have a receiver, like they're doing it with Kendrick Law, they're doing it with glorified tight ends out there, and Auburn has superstars at the receiver position and still can't get it done. It's frustrating, man. I'm sorry.
No, get it. Hey,
sorry.
You've had a couple days to brew on it, so
it's been cooking.
You had some things to get off your chest, so that well, hey, that's our thoughts on Auburn and Missouri. We'll see if Auburn can get it done this weekend, as we have a Tiger on Tiger matchup there on the Plains coming up this Saturday. But we also have the third Saturday, October. So the conversation rolls along. Our keys to victory for Alabama over the Vols this weekend. That's next on JOX. Welcome back into Morning Jocks here. Damian and Conrad with you, breaking down the two big matchups this weekend here as Auburn welcoming Missouri. Just talked about that one. Now we talk about the third Saturday in October because, of course, that is when Alabama welcomes the Tennessee Volunteers to town, and a matchup that Alabama, as we know, dominated for quite some time, and now Tennessee's gotten the best of the Tide 2 of the last 3 years in Neyland, so we'll see if they can get it done again for the first time in about 20 years in Bryant-Denny Stadium. And I think we'll start breaking down this matchup where most people will go, and that is Alabama's passing game versus Tennessee's secondary, because that is, I would say, the most glaring, I think, discrepancy in this matchup. And what I mean by that is Alabama has one of the best passing offenses in the entire country right now. I think a lot of people would say they have the best quarterback in the country, or one of the top 3 quarterbacks, at least in college football, and Ty Simpson. Tennessee also has a good passing offense. However, their passing defense is terrible. They have the worst pass defense in the SEC. Absolute, they're just not good on that side of the ball in their secondary. And to be fair, right, they've had a number of injuries to key players. We talked about Jermon McCoy early on this year, but they're giving up 257.8 yards per game through the air, which is worst in the SEC. Conversely, Alabama is giving up 135 yards per game through the air. So almost double what Alabama is giving up. That's what the Tennessee secondary is allowing. So clearly right there, that tells you Alabama, based on how they've wanted to play the last 5 games that they've won, they're going to want to throw the football a lot. They're going to put a lot of things on Ty Simpson's shoulders, and up to this point, he has delivered. So you would expect that that will continue going into the weekend. So I think right there, if you're an Alabama fan, that's what you feel really, really good about in this matchup is Ty Simpson, those receivers versus the Tennessee secondary should be having an absolute field day on Saturday. Now, conversely, what does the run game look like for you if you're Alabama? And that goes back to Jam Miller, right? I think if Jam Miller's not in, that changes the expectations a little bit. Maybe you have to get a little more creative. I did think it was good last week. He got to get Daniel Hill involved, get some more reps there. So maybe you have a little bit more of a rotation there of guys that you can utilize and feel confident in. But I think Ty Simpson, again, it's kind of surprised me. He's done a good job converting some first downs with his legs at times and having to improvise a little bit. I thought they would have maybe some more quarterback designed runs mixed in there at times, and they just haven't really done that. And so maybe they just don't want to do that. And I mean, I get it, right? You don't want him to get hurt. But I do wonder if that's something that as the season goes along, do you start to see that sprinkle in there? Like almost like, if you watch Patrick Mahomes, you don't really see him scramble a whole lot. And then you get to the postseason, and what does that man do? He runs for like 60 yards a game.
How soon they forget?
And people always ask, like, so why don't you do this in the regular season? He says, because I don't want to get hurt, and I got to save it for the postseason. Like it's like that little trick he's got in his back pocket. So I wonder if that's something that Alabama starts to implement as the season moves along, maybe just a little bit there. But definitely interested to see in how the run game works there. And then I think it's fair to say, I'd be interested to get your take on this, Damian. I think strictly from a moving the ball down the field through the air standpoint, I think this is the best quarterback you've played this year. I think you could argue that Pavia maybe is a better overall quarterback, maybe Gunnar Stockton a better overall quarterback in some areas. But when it strictly comes to a dude that can throw the ball down the field and make explosives in the pass game, this is the biggest threat that you face. So how does that secondary that we thought coming into the year was going to be one of the best, if not the best in college football? Damani Jackson's had some issues lately. Does a freshman like Dejon Lee, is he going to be able to go out there and give you some big-time reps? I think that's something to certainly keep an eye on. And Tennessee can run the ball as well. So it's going to be a challenge for the defense of Alabama. Definitely going to be one of the better, maybe the best overall offense that they faced this year. But conversely, that defense should be Swiss cheese for Ty Simpson and the receivers.
Yeah, and I'm with you on both sides of the coin when it comes to the defense. It's almost going to be a turnover situation because what we haven't seen from Ty Simpson for the most part is him turn the ball over, and Tennessee's secondary has shown that, like you said, they got some holes. They're young in the secondary,
No doubt.
And this is the receiving core I wouldn't want to see rolling in on Saturday. And similarly on the other side for Alabama, the system helps, but I think I I kind of agree with you on the Gunnar Stockton. Like Joey Aguilar, I think the system helps him look like he's the better quarterback he's probably the best quarterback you face so far. But I think Gunnar Stockton, because
And Gunnar made some good throws in that Georgia
right,
game, especially late. I guess I feel like this is the team that you're playing where you feel like maybe they have the biggest down the field threat. And I think part of that too goes into like Chris Brazzell and some of their
right,
receivers are very, very good. I just don't know if you faced that because they can do it consistently, right?
yeah,
And I think a lot of the teams you've played so far, they can do that, but it's not necessarily the identity or what they're trying to do all the time.
right. And I talk about a lot about making a team one dimensional. You can afford to make Georgia one dimensional and kind of say let Gunnar Stockton beat us. But the system in which Tennessee runs, because they're so wide open and so spread out, it's you may want to get this under control, because if they start hitting those shots, it can look like Hendon Hooker of old, of sweet Jesus, like here we go. And because now they can balance it out with the run game too, because they have success running the football. And that's been kind of, up until last week, kind of the Achilles heel for Alabama defensively. They hadn't been able to just consistently shut a running game down. Now they slowed it down a little bit, but a few teams have had success running the football in certain situations. So I think the styles in which these two teams play, and like you said, I think what Ty Simpson has been able to do these past couple weeks, he's dialed in. Like he's playing at a level that he's gotten the confidence. And it's crazy enough that it feels like this Florida State game was sometime last year. But this was the first game of the season. It was, the castle is crumbling. And ever since then, this team has responded the way that they needed to. And they kind of look at this Tennessee unit. Again, they have one loss on their resume to a Georgia team, and it came down to a last-second field goal, goes to overtime, and they don't capitalize on scoring a touchdown. Georgia goes right down the field and scores on them. So this is a clash of the Titans, essentially, because of the fact that a team that you've seen the past couple seasons, like you said, they knocked them off 2 out of the 3 years in Neyland, but they've been competitive at least one of the past 2 years in Tuscaloosa. I mean, they had a 2-touchdown lead, a 2-possession lead a couple years ago with Joe Milton at quarterback. So it's one of those things that you're going to need Tennessee to kind of throw up on themselves a little bit, but you can't not play an A-plus game and still think that this game is going to be a cakewalk. Like, I could see this game looking like the shootout it was a couple years ago, but I can also see this game being lower scoring because, two teams are hitting each other in the mouth, and it's just the style in which they play that you can see somebody get lit up quickly. But overall, I think it's one of these defenses has to actually find a way to make their weakness not as big of a weakness as it has been over the season. It's easier said than done on both sides.
Yes, no, it certainly is. And I think another thing, with this game, if you're Alabama defensively, right, is we've seen them. So they're number one in the country in turnover margin. So they don't turn the ball over, as we know, offensively, but they've done a really nice job, especially in, key moments, right? The last couple of games, you get an interception to seal it against Missouri last week honestly, you go back and look at the film, that could have been a walk-off touchdown, right? Like, there were some it wasn't the prettiest look there at the end, but hey, you came up with a play when you needed it. You get 2 turnovers in the red zone from Pavia against Vanderbilt, right? You're making these big plays when you need them. And Joey Aguilar, at times, has turned the ball over this year. He has 5 interceptions. He had 2 against Georgia, 2 against Mississippi State. Again, that just kind of shows you if you're this Alabama defense, can you create multiple turnovers again in this matchup? If you do that, I think people feel really good, right? The concern would be, is this a game where nobody can stop anybody and it's whoever gets the ball last? I don't think you necessarily want that situation if you're Alabama, right? Because you want your defense to be able to step in there and help you out. And I will close with this because we've talked about, Alabama, this is their 4th straight ranked opponent. There are 3 teams in the SEC that average over 40 points a game. Alabama will have played all 3 of those teams the last 3 weeks. Missouri averages 41.7, Vanderbilt averages 43, and Tennessee is the highest scoring team in all of college football this year at 48 points a game. So that's the 3 last games that you will have played if you're the Alabama defense.
Did you say Vanderbilt averages 43 points a game?
They are the 2nd highest scoring team in the SEC.
Man, we got to stop playing these FCS opponents and these run-of-the-mill teams. Like, that is insane.
They are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the 7th highest scoring team in all of college football this year.
Vanderbilt.
Yep.
Man, what kind of simulation are we living in?
You want to know who's right after Vanderbilt at 8th?
Who is that?
Virginia.
Man, what is going on?
Pretty funny, isn't it?
This is wild. What 2025 is? This has been a crazy football season.
It's been an interesting season nonetheless. But we've gotten a ton of reaction this morning. A lot of you chiming in with your thoughts on these two matchups coming up for Alabama and Auburn over the weekend. So 205-834-9450. We'd love to hear from you on the Courtesy GMC text line, and we'll turn it over to you next as we get your thoughts, your reaction to Week 8 and the college football season next year on JOX. A few more minutes here on your Thursday morning edition of Morning Jocks. Conrad and Damian here with you until we hand you off to McElroy and Kublik in the morning. Those guys coming up here from 7 to 10. Then, of course, three-man front with you from 10 until 2. And, of course, Paul Feinbaum will then take over from 2 until 6. So always appreciate you making us a part of your day. And we always appreciate you chiming in on the Courtesy GMC text line, because that is where we go right now. As Lewis chimed in earlier this morning, he says, Ole Miss plays Georgia, Alabama plays Tennessee, and suddenly Damian has a girlfriend that's an Alabama fan and is taking days off. Welcome back to the show, Damian, and thank your girlfriend for her service.
Appreciate it, homie.
Bobby says, Damian says it can't get any worse for the Titans, but speaking as a New Orleans Saints fan, it most definitely can get worse. At least y'all have a QB for the future.
They have Spencer Rattler.
Mm-hmm.
So they got a QB of the future, for the future.
Well, the future of the season, yeah.
Yeah. We also had the number 1 overall pick last year, so can't get any worse. I don't think.
No, I don't think they have a 0 pick. I think it just stays at number 1.
Gotcha.
Let's see. This text rolls in. I'm assuming this is about the Auburn-Missouri game. They say, can they also keep the refs on the sideline?
We're still blaming them.
I just read them. Let's see. This one says, nah, y'all, or I guess they disagree with what we were talking about with Missouri. They say, this Missouri team is giving me LSU vibes with Leonard Fournette. Alabama held him to hardly any rushing yards, and then that man played Auburn and steamrolled them. Talking about Leonard Fournette back in the day. Well, we'll see. We'll see if Ahmad Hardy can.
I mean, that's a nice comp, though.
Can do that. Hey,
Leonard Fournette's still a top 10, top 5 pick. Congratulations, Ahmad Hardy.
I would certainly be. I'd be happy if I was him. Let's see. Bama Hater chimes in. He says, I have Ole Miss versus A&M in the SEC championship game. Bold prediction there, picking the 2 undefeated teams in the SEC. Bold take, Bama Hater. He says, how many losses will it take to keep Georgia and Bama out of the playoffs? Certainly, I would think 3 would make it tough on them.
Yeah, I'd say 3.
Absolutely with 4, but I would say 3 would be tough. Maybe you find a way in, but. Let's see. Antoine, he says, I wouldn't say that Missouri abandoned the run game on purpose. Watching the game, I think they were forced to because of the time of possession that Alabama was controlling. Didn't know how many more possessions they were going to receive, just my opinion. I certainly think that that played a part in it. I guess I was just thinking more so from the standpoint of the game wasn't that out of reach for Missouri and the standpoint of, hey, we've got to go and score in 2 minutes and then get an onside. I know you did at the end of the game, but leading up in the second half, I mean, they scored right out of there. It was 17-17, and you had some room to work with there. So I think we can agree that we both kind of meet in the middle there, Antoine. This text says, what would y'all think about Hugh Freeze trying to get Gus Malzahn as offensive coordinator to try to save his job? I do not think that they would go back down that path because they have already been there. No. Not saying, I don't mean that as anything against Gus. It's just, why would you
that ain't happening.
Go back to a guy? I guess Arkansas just did that with Petrino, but
that situation a little different.
It's different.
It was, yeah.
Let's see. Alan says, how does Auburn essentially split the team stats game in and game out, total yards, time of possession, turnover battles, and never pull out a win? It's mind-boggling. Yes, it is. It's in some ways it's kind of impressive.
Yeah, it's insane.
In a bad way, but
it's insane.
But it is impressive. Let's see. Jason says, when you're coaching against Kirby, you have to understand that he learned from the best about making halftime adjustments. The reason Georgia's a second-half team is because of that. Tennessee and Auburn both found out the hard way. I mean, to be fair, he shut out Alabama in the second half, too. He did a heck of a job against them. Let's see. This one says, I believe Damian is actually a closet Auburn fan. Tell us how you really feel when you had some things to get off your chest.
No, it's just, I don't like bad ball. And what we're seeing from Auburn's offense is bad ball.
See, this text says, all that passion Damian has talking about Auburn feels like he's an Auburn fan at his core, masking it as an Ole Miss fan.
I'm on the Lane train.
It is interesting that of all the years to pick Ole Miss, it's working out pretty well for you so far.
Yeah, you know it is. I had a hunch.
So we can all be telling.
You're right.
Hey, I saw that game last year, though.
Exactly.
But it was in Oxford.
Yeah, it was.
Chris from Rogersville. Whose offense is worse, LSU or Auburn? Auburn.
Oh, it's definitely Auburn. LSU's problem is they choose not to run the football. Like they're just not going to do it.
I mean, LSU's offense isn't good, but it's better than Auburn's.
Yeah.
Let's see.
And their quarterback can let it rip.
This one, yeah. This one says the Vols are about to volunteer to get that ass beat. Roll damn Tide.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about. That's the kind of rivalry I like to hear.
Mm-hmm. John says Auburn's defense is the best it's been overall since 2019, and now we can't score. You're right. We've wasted another championship level defense. I mean, I certainly think this is a defense that you could win a national championship with this caliber defense, but offense certainly has to be a lot better. Matt in Bessemer says if Jam Miller's out, Proctor can fill in for him. I'd love to see that.
Might as well get some reps back there.
Let's see. Tennessee just plays fast. If Alabama doesn't have an answer for that, then they're going to have to go win a shootout. Possibly. Tennessee is probably the best offense Bama's seen so far. Bama's going to have to score significant points in the second half to win. I would say that would certainly help. Let's see. Good morning, fellas. Love the show. RTR. Roll Tide to you, man. Appreciate it. Appreciate all of you chiming in. We're back tomorrow, 6 a.m. We'll make our picks for the weekend, but McElroy and Kublik in the morning. Those guys are next.